And talking about loss with kids can be a tricky subject.
What's up, me? March 17th, 2026. Kouri Richins was found guilty yesterday. It was a very beautiful thing. And I'm very happy that she has been served the justice she deserves. They deliberated for 3 hours because of how guilty she is. And so look, I want to present this interview. Now that we know she is at least guilty in the eyes of the law, in the eyes of a jury of her peers, we know that everything she says in this interview is evil, bro. Like, she is a soldier for the dark side. She is evil, bro. Like, this is not easy to watch. I don't think it isn't for me. It bothers me. That's why I want to put it on the record. This is not funny. This is not cute. This is her taking advantage of the worst tragedy of her children. I mean, it's very sickening. But it is very educational and illustrative of the world that we live in. You know, there's a lot of evil people, and it doesn't matter if she's white or if she's a woman or if she's from Utah. The fact of the matter is, we live in a world where you gotta watch your back and be careful, because God's nemesis, he's always there. He's always ready. So watch this very hard to watch interview.
And talking about loss with kids can be a tricky subject.
Joining us now is author of Are You With Me? Kouri Richins, to share her 3 C's to helping kids cope with grief. And Kouri, I want to start with your story. What happened in your personal life?
So my husband passed away unexpectedly last year. So it's March 4th was a 1-year anniversary for us, and he was 39. It completely took us all by shock. And we have 3 little boys, 10, 9, and 6. And, you know, my kids and I kind of wrote this book on the different emotions and grieving processes that we've experienced last year. And, you know, hoping that it can kind of help other kids, you know, deal with this and kind of, you know, find happiness some way or another.
And to make sense and process, I'm sure. And I'm sure you felt that going through and trying to explain it and articulate it for you and your boys.
Yes, exactly. And so I've done, you know, I'm new to all of this, so kind of doing, you know, research and reading books and things to try and understand, you know, not only how to grieve as a widow, as a wife, but also, you know, with my kids, how to help them understand what just happened. And what I have kind of found is, as I mentioned, it's kind of the 3 C's is how I visualize it. And it's, you know, connection, continuity, and care. And it's, you know, making sure connection is the major one, and making sure that their spirit is always alive in your home, you know, and memories are always brought up, and doing things that your loved ones love to do, whether it's riding bikes or their favorite dinner, and just constantly, you know, talking about them.
And Kouri, do you mention at dinner, here's Dad, or Dad would like this meal, or Dad would, let's bring Dad on a bike ride?
Yeah, exactly. And it's, you know, explaining to my kid, just because he's not present here with us physically, that doesn't mean his presence isn't here with us, and he's doing these things with us. And he's, you know, here for birthdays, and he's here for Christmas, and, you know, and it's just comforting to them to know that, you know, they're not living this life alone. Like, Dad is still here, it's just in a different way, a different version.
Well, I opened up your book, and one of the first pages I saw is a little boy. It looks like he's standing in a hallway at school, and he's saying, "Are you still here?"
Yes, yeah, and it's, you know, and that was like the first day of school, and, you know, all the nerves that kids face on the first day of school with new, you know, and just hoping, you know, Dad, like, walk with me, like, help me get through today, like, give me the strength to do that. And it has found, you know, it's been a lot of peace for my kids. to, you know, to really remember that in the back of their head, that they're never alone, you know.
So you actually wrote this book with your children.
I did.
And it's only been a year. How did you process and say you go from processing death to I need to write a book and help others?
You know, I just watched the struggle that my kids were going through, and I actually, you know, I went on Amazon and Barnes & Noble and trying to find something that we could use to cope at nights. Nights are the hardest, it seems like, for everybody when, you know, dealing with anything. But I just wanted some story to read to my kids at night, and I just could not find anything. I couldn't find anything that really, you know, suited them or helped them find comfort and peace. And so, you know, I was like, let's just write one. And so, you know, I took things that my kids have said to me this last year, and we kind of articulated it and put it into a story, and, you know, just have hopes that it will help other kids.
Grief is not linear, and this sounds like it's a touchstone when you need it to come back to for you and your boys. So the first one you had mentioned was connection of the 3 C's, keeping the person's spirit alive. The second, continuity.
Yes, and that's, you know, just making sure you're trying to stay, you know, as much as you can on routine, and, you know, whether that's, you know, sports or pick up and drop off from school, or community activities, just, you know, trying to stay in a routine as much as possible.
And then the last C is care.
Yes.
What does that mean?
So, you know, on top of just loving your kids and hugging them and kissing them and, you know, extra cuddles and everything, I think it's important that I've learned to really affirm, you know, their feelings. When they're mad or they're sad, you know, it's just that affirmation of, I understand, like, that you are upset, you know, because of this. Like, let's talk about it, you know. And so I think really it's not, you know, it's the emotional and physical touch of it, but really letting your kids understand that you know why they're feeling the way that they are feeling, and it's okay, and let's deal with it and talk about it.
There's a promotion right now. Get a free copy of the book April 30th and May 1st through Amazon Kindle. You are an amazing woman and mom, and we thank you for being vulnerable and sharing this and touching the lives of others.
Thank you. I really appreciate being here. So,
thank you, Kouri.